are you living your dream? Are you living society's dream? Are you still evolving and stretching? Or have you become stagnant just based upon the fact that, hey, I've arrived?
Welcome back to Happiness in Progress. I'm your host, Danielle Craig. I'm an Emmy Award-winning journalist, a mom, wife, and you know what I like to say, just a person looking for more joy in the everyday. This podcast is brought to you by the Mail Tribune. You can find more podcasts at mailtribune.com. If you haven't already, go check out my Hip Habits workbook. It is a workbook full of weekly habits that will last you 6 months to just add to your overall wellness, everything from financial wellness to physical and spiritual well-being as well. I'm so excited that today you get to hear from Teneshia Jackson Warner. She is the founder and CEO of one of the country's most successful multicultural marketing and communications firms, EGAMI Group. She's the creator of The Dream Project, which inspired her to write her book, The Big Stretch, 90 Days to Expand Your Dreams, Crush Your Goals, and Create Your Own Success. The book is a soul-searching, life-transforming 12-week boot camp that reveals how to get from where you are to where you dream to be in life and in business. In this conversation, we talk about where our dreams collectively stand at what is hopefully the end of this pandemic, how to relight the fire of our dreams, how the biggest thief of an extraordinary life is a great life, how comparison impacts our dreams, and so much more. Let's get to it. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you, Danielle, for having me. I'm really excited about our conversation.
Me too. I loved your book. And as I was kind of explaining to you, it is just the perfect combination of the inspiration, but also the how-tos, the tangible steps. And I really believe going through that each week will help people move closer to their dreams. And I think that's just incredible. So I want to start with where we are right now. We've been sitting in this pandemic for more than a year, and I know that a lot of people are we were forced to just sit on our dreams. Where do you think the dream collectively as human beings stands right now?
Oh, such a good question. So Danielle, yes, I think we collectively are at a place where the world has not witnessed this in 100 years. I mean, I sometimes still wake up and I'm like, are we really going through this? That we lived through that? Mm-hmm. And so we are in this unique place where plans that we thought were going to happen, for many of us, the plan did not work out as we planned. And that can be if you're a mother, and you're sort of, perhaps you had a senior that you thought was going to go through a typical graduation. If you're a mother, perhaps you never imagined that you would become a teacher, literally in-home teaching for over a year. As a business owner and even an author, I thought I would be on a book tour last year. And all of that went out of the window. So I think collectively where we are in sort of our dreams is we realize that we can have our plans and we can have our dreams, but even our dreams are subject to life. And our dreams are subject to the unexpected.
Mm-hmm. That can be kind of hard. The weekend of the pandemic. So I think everything kind of shut down. It was either a Thursday or a Friday. That weekend I was going to Tony Robbins. So I had to cancel Tony Robbins. So tell me about how to deal with it's a loss, I think, the loss of when we thought our dreams would occur and maybe the moving forward steps after that.
For me, I can tell you there was a moment where my publisher was McGraw-Hill Publishing, and I just knew this book tour is going to happen. And I don't know, maybe it was around May when it really hit me like, this isn't like a short-term close and I want to push the book tour back one more month and be out there. This is really the unknown. So I think first thing was acceptance that we collectively are not in control. And then it went from acceptance to really believing that, okay, it's not now, but that doesn't mean it's not never. Dreams come with divine times as well. So I believe, if a part of my destiny was to birth and bring this dream to life, I had to let go of my control and my expectation of what I thought it would look like, and then say, perhaps this book will actually come out when it's needed in the world. And obviously, that's not this particular time. So fast forward, when I release control, I'm doing more media interviews now, post in the middle of a pandemic, than the book was supposed to be released pre-pandemic, even before we knew a pandemic was coming. And so I think for the listeners, if you have that dream that you postpone, know that dreams have divine timing. And although it may have not worked out in the time that you thought, I want you to trust that the divine season and timing for that dream is coming.
I love that. That reminds me of the story in your book where I think it was you, but you were saying, I want 1,000 people at this event. Was this you? I want 1,000 people
Yep.
at this event. And then someone said to you, how small is your God? Talk to me a little bit about that experience and understanding that divine part of your dreams.
Yes. So, oh man, Danielle, we're gonna hang out. Like you know all the stories in the book.
I
Um,
loved it. I mean, I'm serious.
so yeah, so it was this annual project that I would host entitled the Dream Project. And the whole idea was I would not only share some of the things that I learned as an entrepreneur, but I would bring in these amazing iconic dreamers like Jennifer Fleiss, Magic Johnson, Damon John from Shark Tank. And the idea was just sharing tools with other dreamers. Well, one of the speakers that I brought in was Dr. Bruce Wilkinson, and I was prepping him for the event experience. And when we have our to-do list, so you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and da 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 da. And I'm thinking it's over. And then just at the end of the conversation, he said, let me ask you a question. What is your dream for this dream? No one had ever asked me that. I'm like, what do you mean? What's my dream for this dream? He's like, what is your vision for this? And I paused and I said, my vision is that I can get 1,000 people to attend this experience. And at the time, we had about 300 attendees. And I kind of sat back like, yeah. And he was
I love it.
And he looked, and his response, he said, wow, my, how small you hold our God. And it just like crushed me. And that was my moment where I realized that I would design these dreams, but I still had my dreams in boxes based upon what I believed I could physically do in my own strength. I left no room for magic. I left no room for miracles. I left no room for divine intervention. And I left no room for something to happen that was much greater than me. And fast forward, that particular event, we changed the model. We ended up doing a partnership with Bishop T.D. Jakes. And I'll never forget when I took the stage and it was something called Mega Dream, right? Versus Dream Project. It became Mega Dream. And I took a stage and there were over 3,000 people in the audience in just one of the sessions.
Unbelievable. So that is the power of holding that space for not only your own strength, for the magic, for the divine. I love that. For someone who's sitting listening and they're like, well, I'm totally type A and I hold everything to my own strength. What would be your tip to move out of that, to start thinking bigger and grander?
A few things. As you know, in the book, we have it divided out into 4 phases. So for all the listeners, you're going on a dream journey. Inside of the big stretch, there's 4 key phases. 1 is dream. The second is design. The third is dare. And the fourth is do. Well, in that first phase of dream, that is where you really can start to become comfortable with dreaming without limits. And I encourage you to understand, what is your ideal dream environment? Where are you most creative? Where do you get your ideas? And then put yourself in those environments and give yourself the space and time to imagine and imagine freely. Great dreamers that are creating things that do not exist, they have amazing, strong imaginations. So it's like getting your imagination muscled up. And when you are imagining and you're letting the ideas flow, do not think about the how too prematurely. If you start to think about the how too prematurely when you're like off imagining, you immediately start shrinking the vision based upon your resources, your abilities, versus letting your mind freely go out there, and it'll give you visions of what could be possible. And these visions are typically out of the realm of your how. So to answer your question on that, Danielle, it's imagine, give yourself the space and time to imagine, do so freely, and do not start thinking of the how too prematurely.
You wrote in the book, the biggest thief of an extraordinary life is a great life. Tell me the moment you recognized this.
Oh man. So I'm trying to see if I want to give you a personal example or for someone else. I'll do personal first. But I see it all the time. And the dreamers that I work with, especially high achievers. Um, so essentially, what I mean by that is one of the greatest robbers of like extraordinary is really, really, really good or really, really great. So if your life is comfortable, you've accomplished a lot, that's when you almost have to be so intentional to examine and conduct like internal audits, what I call dream checkups, to determine, are you living your dream? Are you living society's dream? Are you still evolving and stretching? Or have you become stagnant just based upon the fact that, hey, I've arrived? So, my personal example, EGAMI Group is a company that I started, and it's an agency based out of New York. And I will tell you, it was just hard, understanding how to set the business up, how to hire employees, um, and get everything going, right? So there was moments that EGAMI, you would think to itself, EGAMI is doing pretty good. Why think of anything else? Why think of birthing another platform entitled the Dream Project? Or, why reach for more? And I realized I was having visions of starting something else, another venture. Um, and I was having these visions that would take me out of my comfort zone. And I almost had like an internal battle, like, wait a minute. I mean, I was uncomfortable. I did the work. I moved to New York without knowing a soul. I had faith. I lived in a little small apartment and I sacrificed, but now there's this stability, right? And what if I just want to sit back and breathe and I'm done stretching, right? And I really did live in that place for a minute, like I'm done stretching. But at the same time, when you're done stretching, you're not evolving, you're not growing. And eventually I had to really get real with myself and say, listen, you're not here living this life to say that you exited and you only, tapped into a certain percent. You want to do it all. You want to make sure that when you live, you can say you lived at 100%, 110%. So I shook myself up and said, keep stretching, although I'm comfortable. And I'll tell you, I meet with other dreamers. I met with C-suite executives that are like at the top of their game. And all of a sudden, this dream awakens to, maybe start this business, or this dream awakens to go on a completely new path. And the more success you have and the more responsibility you have, the more in many times, it's just not a popular opinion. You have to be ready to share that vision and then stand on it with others that are like, you're at the top of your game. What are you doing thinking about a change right now?
I love this so much because I was working in news, morning anchor, top rated newscast, and was winning an Emmy, getting nominated for Emmys. You know, I was doing really well. And I had this conscious thought at the end of 2016, like, I'm good. Like, I'm done growing. I figured everything out. Like, I'm perfect. I've got it. No more growing for me. I'm good. And then the next year, I call it my wake up year because it was like medical issue after medical. My husband's heart stopped for 8 seconds in our kitchen with paramedics there. It was horrible. And that and a whole bunch of other things. And I feel like I had decided I would no longer stretch. I would no longer try to do hard things. And so I got you can call it God or the universe or whatever. I got the message. Actually, no, you're in your early 30s and you're not done growing. And so I was kind of zapped out of it. I had to be. And thank goodness, I mean, not thank goodness for all the hard things that happened, but thank goodness for the realization that this is a growing life and I didn't stop growing in my early 30s. How horrible would that be?
Yes. And good for you that you got the wake up in your 30s. So,
right.
Wow.
Yes. That's
was
really good point.
Your husband okay?
My husband's okay now. Yeah. Everyone in my family ended up going to the hospital at the time. It was a hard year, hard 3 months. So I want to go to, you talk about that scary moment of having to take off the training wheels. And I think right now, because we have been in a pandemic and we haven't really it's been hard and there's been a lot of emotional growth and spiritual growth and all of that. But I think coming back out of the pandemic and having to realize that we can once again chase our dreams might be a little scary when we feel comfortable where we are, you know, sitting in our in our house and not doing a lot of the do. What do you think is something we can do to kind of relight that fire in us and relight the dream?
Mm-hmm. Well, one, I think we need to become really aware of what you just said, like the impact of living an inward life for a year and a half. That has now, not only has it taken a toll, but it had to also impact our dreams because our dreams have now also been somewhat sheltered and we're holding on to them sort of inward, unless you use the pandemic to like start a new business. And I do know some people that also did that as well. But I would challenge you to let's get very clear on the vision. I mean, I'm assuming, I feel like we're going to start witnessing the world open up in the third quarter of this year. So make sure you're very clear about your vision for you personally, as well as your business. The big stretch is written in a way where we have a 90-day action plan. I would highly encourage you to map out a 90-day stretch plan for your dream. That is a tool that is downloadable for no fee at thebigstretchbook.com. And so you can get that template, even if you don't have the book. I highly encourage you to have the book with the template, but make this 90-day action plan. And so what that will do is help you start to think about the actions and the results that you want to achieve to realize this particular vision long-term. And I usually have you deal with it in 1 year increments. So like my big dream is X. If this is my big dream, what would I need to do over the next year? And have some fun with it. Let your heart start beating and getting excited. And then, okay, if this is what I need to achieve in the next year, where do I start over the next 90 days? Now, this stuff isn't going to be just light. Like you're going to have, I always challenge you to put measurable results so that you can hold yourself accountable. I think holding yourself accountable against those small goals and action is going to be critical in this third quarter of 2021. The second thing that I would say is get ready to be uncomfortable again. Like I think the entire world is. And so when you get ready to go out on that first business pitch. I just recently did my first business meeting and I underestimated the psychological. I'm in a restaurant. This isn't just a normal business meeting. I'm looking around. I want to know who has mask on, who does not, where am I sitting? Are they really about to put another family right next to me? And then I'm in my mind, like, don't be weird. But I'm thinking this person is way too close to me. Like I underestimated like getting out and dreaming again. This was uncomfortable. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so even with that, get ready and anticipate that the way that we navigate in this new season, it's not going to look like what we navigated before, which that within itself will require you to be inventive. It will require you to get out of your own way, and it will require you to be a little bit uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think understanding that going into it too will help fortify us. You talk about comparison in the book. How does getting wrapped up in comparing ourselves to others, how does that impact us trying to achieve our goals and our dreams?
Well, one of the greatest downfalls of comparison is it can potentially have you covet and or make choices based on someone else's path and not your path. Um, I think comparisons can work for us if it's helping sharpen our path, right? So if you're starting a business, you need to be clear about what you want to do, what you're being called to do, who your target audience is. Every business plan has the competitive landscape, right? So every business plan will have you kind of go out and understand what is the competition in the world, what are they doing? But you really should only be looking at that to better understand what makes you unique. That, if you're doing it from a business plan perspective. So the comparison, looking and understanding someone's business model as an exercise to better understand what makes you unique, okay, we welcome that. But if you're looking over, right, and you're comparing, and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, they're doing that, I should be doing that. They're doing this, I should be here. That's very dangerous because as you make the decisions based on someone else's life, you can then wake up and say, whoa, I've crafted and designed a life that's not my life. This isn't my path. And we are made as unique individuals. The other day, I went through the airport, and I don't know how many of you all use Clear, but Clear is like a fast way to check into your flight where you can literally put your fingerprint on this machine at the airport, and it identifies you based on the fingerprint. Or you can look at your eyes, and then it will identify. When I did this the other day, I was thinking as I was waiting for it to come back, was saying identifying. And I was thinking, there are billions of people on this planet, but Clear is going to come back and my eyes, my fingerprint, it's unique to me. Another individual can't put their fingerprint and have this system say, you're identified based on this level of uniqueness. Do you know how unique that has to be out of billions of people in the planet? So I believe that your dreams, your desires, they are as unique as you are. And so you rob the world of your way, your swag, how you're supposed to do this. Nobody's going to do it the way you're going to do it because nobody has your DNA, your unique fingerprint, your unique ways of thinking. And so be you and give the world the uniqueness of you, the uniqueness of your dream is what I would say to do in that.
Going off that, there's a part in your book that I'm going to read. I loved this. You're talking about you're training for a marathon and you're looking around. Maybe I should try to run like these other people are running. And you say, quote, By copying people with completely different skills than my own, I was setting myself up for failure. I could end there because that's just, oh my goodness, that's so good. But it goes on to say, eventually I made it across the finish line because I ran the race my way. Imagine yourself walking through a field of flowers where each flower represents someone else's dream. I want you to see and appreciate these thousands of flowers for their beauty and uniqueness, but I never want you to be so in awe of them that you lose sight of what makes your flower unique, even in a crowded field. Know your competition. Don't try to be your competition. End quote. Tell me about when you realized this for yourself.
Mm. Wow, Danielle, I didn't think I would get emotional on this with you. I think I'm realizing it still. So there's definitely been times in life where um I've just known my path wasn't the path of like society's norm. And over the years, I've gotten comfortable with that at different stages. And so, yes, with the marathon, I went out there training and I was looking to the left and right. And all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I'm going to copy AC style. And she ran faster. And like her way was just different. And then I realized, like, you're not going to finish this because you're about to die trying to run like AC.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that was a physical experience that reminded me your way. And I've had the your way in business, but even in life right now, I'm still learning. Like, there's decisions that I'm being faced with children right now. I'm 44. I don't mind sharing. And there's some big choices around to have, to not have. And it's really getting me again to be uncomfortable with identifying what is your truth. Like, not what society wants you to do, not even what your girlfriends or best friends want you to do. Can you truly look in the mirror and identify what's your path and be okay with it? And so I don't even think it's by chance that you read that quote to me right now, because I'm like really in a major big decision and have some big medical choices next week, like next Monday. But even in that, I'm coming to a place of peace today with like, you have to accept who you are fully, and you have to be okay with your path. And for the listeners, that could be, maybe you are, determining if marriage is the right path for you. Maybe you're determining if children or not having children, or to adopt or not adopt. There's so many things where society will tell us what is our right way to do it. And before you know it, if you're not awakened and choosing the choices for yourself, you will find yourself that life and society are making those choices for you. But I think the beauty of the awakened ones in life is that they're bold enough to write the pages and the path, whether it's going against society's norms or not, but just truly being willing to write boldly the unique dreams and paths that are for them.
Goosebumps from that. Just beautiful. I think that getting off track by looking at other people's success and goals, it's never going to lead you to where you want to be, ever. And I'm so glad that you shared that. So I want to talk to you for the rest of the day, but alas, schedules. So I will wrap up with my last question. I like to ask people what their number one tip is for living a happy life and feeling joy in the good, the bad, and the in-between of life.
Oh, this is good. The number one tip for experiencing happiness, the good and the bad. I'm going to merge two. Being present with gratitude is my number one tip. So being present to the now, because as planners, it's so easy, we're thinking the long-term game, 5 year, 10 year, but being being really, really keen present to the now gives you access to the beauty of that moment. So for me, I'm having access to the beauty of you right now, what you've created right now. Even the beauty that the world, the universe just taught me a lesson. It's like I couldn't have planned that. I could not have planned you asked me that question to teach me a lesson before Monday. So just being present to this moment is giving me access to joy. And then being present with gratitude. So being grateful for this exchange in this moment is fueling my happiness. And even when you say the good and the bad, if there is a way that we can also channel being present with gratitude, even during the bad moments, that helps. So I've lost a loved one in the midst of the pandemic as well. And even during that period, some of my darkest moments, being present with gratitude had me say, wow, I'm so grateful for a life well lived, versus I can't believe I'm about to live a life without this other person.
I love that. That is so powerful, because I think you're absolutely right. Gratitude. And I am so grateful for this conversation. I've loved talking to you. Again, love the book. I'm going to link the book. I will also link your 90-day free roadmap as well. And thank you so much for your time today. I just really appreciate it. And good luck on your big decision coming up.
Yes. Well, thank you for reminding me my path. Don't compare my path.
I hope you loved hearing from Teneshia. I am so appreciative of her wisdom and her experience that she brought to this podcast today. Of course, I'm linking her information. I'm linking that 90-day roadmap she talked about, as well as where you can get her book. You can find that in show notes. I want to thank you for being here on Happiness in Progress.